It was a downer of a day in Tucson with plenty of teachable moments on both sides of the ball for OSU. Big yards in the rushing game, too many big plays for the Wildcats. How can the Beavs stop these troubling trends? Coach Anderson joins us to take a look back on a tough day in the desert and ahead to a battle on the Blues. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
Everybody be a playmaker. Here we go. Toward the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Beavers!
And welcome into the Flat Tail Brewing Studios along with Steve Priest. I'm Dusty Hare. We'll be joined by head football coach Gary Anderson as the Beavs look to rebound from a 44-7 loss down in the desert to Arizona with a trip up to the Blues against a red-hot Washington State team. First of all, Steve, initial thoughts, the loss down in Arizona.
Well, I was surprised. The Beavers had practiced very well, Dusty, and they seemed to be ready to play the football game. And then they went out, and everything seemed to start bad and just keep going. Where they've been so strong in third down situations. The Beavers come right out, get third down situations, several of them, and then lose it on the third down. So they're like the #1 third down team in the nation becomes very average against Arizona.
And that is a perfect way to head over and collaborate on the InFocus Mondo pad, because it is collaboration that works, to some plays that you kind of earmarked from that game, dealing with just what you said, third down situations.
Beavers kickoff, which they love to do. If you take a look at this, simple, they're in their three-man right here. You expect pressure to try to put some pressure on this quarterback. This is a real simple play in an empty situation. They're going to bring a guy across, pretty much the same kind of patterns, or else something changing down here, send somebody deep. Should be easy coverage. There shouldn't be a problem. They don't get pressure on the quarterback, first of all, and a completely blown coverage. That was a 3rd and 10 situation, Dusty, and the Beavers just flat out gave them a first down. Now, this is in the second series. Here we got the same situation, empty again. This is the same formation exactly, and here we got a 3rd and 6. The Beavers are in position to get off the field again, and look what happens this time. No pressure until late. They lined up in a 3-man and sent the guy late this time, and Larry Scott's in a position to make the play, just doesn't squeeze it. The Beavers don't make the play, and it ends up in a touchdown, 7-0. That's the way the game started, and it didn't get better from there.
You know, the thing about it, when you look at that play and you look at the first one and the second one, 3rd down and 10 to 3rd down and 6, you had the same kind of shallow crosser, #1 out of the same formation, looked at the exact same play, but broken in 2 different spots.
Yes, and it was kind of aggravating to me to watch it, because the guys that who got beat there were some of the Beavers' better players, quite frankly, and you expect them to lead. You really do.
Now, when you take a look at those downs, those third downs were the ones that Oregon State was so good at all season long. You look at it in the wins, opponents are just 2 for 26 on third downs in wins, but in losses, it's a completely different world for Oregon State so far this year. And 10 for 19, that is over a 50% success rate again on third down. What is the easy fix that Coach Anderson and the staff can sit there and look at and try to fix here? Because it doesn't seem like it's easy.
I'll tell you, Dusty, that to me, Coach Anderson is looking for guys who can make plays. That's where he is. This is a new team to him. He's looking for the guys that absolutely will stand up and make plays. Somebody's just got to stand up and say it's third down in the huddle or on the field. This is how it's going to happen, and we're going to make those plays. They're still leading the Pac-12 in third down defense in spite of all this. So it's really an amazing situation on third down situations. They've got to stop it this week.
One of the other things that was the bugaboo this week against Arizona was the big play. It seemed to continue to happen time and time again, and also in situations where Oregon State has been really good on kind of containing the big play, not letting big chunk yards get against them. What did you see in this game that kind of stuck out to you as we take a look at these second series of play?
Well, what I saw that stuck out was the Beavers had only had about 3 plays all year over 20 yards, and they have 5, I think, over 50 in this game, and they were breakdowns, just absolute pure breakdowns, no question about it. There were passes, there were people missing assignments completely, there were tackles. They're playing depth defense, and they don't get in the right wide gap. It's silly.
And you take a look at this play right here. I mean, this is on their own 6-yard line, backed up, a simple zone read on the inside, or inside zone.
Absolutely. There was a situation there where they play gap defense. They have to fill it. Two guys in the same gap. One took the outside rush. The other was supposed to be there, and an absolute open hole. Easy play.
And as we take a look again, I mean, it was like coming second nature to Anu Solomon as a broken coverage downfield again, plaguing Oregon State on what was a first down situation. So what we've seen here, first down, second down, third down, bad day in the desert for the Beavs. And sometimes those games just happen in the steamroll effect, just everything piles on you heavy and hard late.
I think what was hardest for me, and I think what is hardest for Gary Anderson and his staff, is they were progressing until this game. And in all phases, they stepped back this past week in Arizona.
Well, we will hear from the coach, Gary Anderson, coming up next. He sits down with us. Stick with us. Use the hashtag BeaversFB as we preview the battle on the Palouse. And Coach Anderson sitting down live from Corvallis. It's Beavers inside the huddle. Less than 48 hours to kick off between the Oregon State Beavers and Washington State Cougars up in the Palouse. It's Beavers inside the huddle, and joining Steve Priest and myself is the head coach of the Beavs, Gary Anderson, live from Corvallis. Coach Anderson, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your busy day for us.
Oh, no problem. Great to be here.
Hey, Coach. I know there wasn't a lot that went overwhelmingly well, but let's talk about a situation at the end of the first quarter. The Beavers have had a couple of decent stops to hold for field goals, and they've got the ball just into the second quarter, and you have some pretty good movement here. It's a good spot in the game, and I want you to look at and eventually talk about these guys across here. They make a pretty good effort all the way down the field. It's a solid drive, just zone blocking it looks like, and some real good running by this guy. Again, it's a 1st and 10 play, but take a look here. Then we get the same situation, continues to run with Ryan. These offensive linemen had a pretty good day. Can you talk about their efforts so far?
Yeah, I think they did. The offensive line against a very difficult defense to understand where they're going to be and the way Arizona plays did a very solid job. So it was a good offensive line, a good defensive line battling it out, and it was good to see. I think we're growing in that area. The key is we need to get us a little bit more creases in there for those running backs to be able to hit it downhill and hopefully get to that second level uncontested and then have the ability to break the big play. But overall, the offensive line was, in my opinion, a bright spot on the day, not just in the run blocking, but also in their pass protection. We need to improve in our run blocking at the tight end position, and then we need to be able to get the extra yards when we need them at the running back position.
Well, the payoff on this drive came at the end when your young quarterback makes a nice, what appears to be a read. I'm not sure whether this was a read or whether it was just a straight quarterback run. But again, we're going to look at these guys across the middle, the good mesh in here with the quarterback, and then a nice run by the quarterback, and his acceleration to the goal line puts this in good shape. Talk about this particular play and what he does.
It's a really nice job by Seth. Seth's ability on this play to be able to see the overhang defender on the edge of the defense, who we did not have blocked because of the penetration of the defensive tackle. You know, Fred did a nice job of kicking out the defensive tackle. Seth saw the crease in the middle where the play is not designed to hit, and he made a tremendous play. It's an example of the offensive line adjusting to what they see up front, and then a very talented young man with his feet being able to get up and hit the crease and go for a score. So that was a big play. You know, we're right back in the football game. We hadn't played exceptionally well at that point, but we were right back in it, and 7-13, we're in a good striking distance. Unfortunately, we're not able to hold on to that.
Now, you mentioned football has always been a game of momentum, man. You had 13-7. Your guys are feeling well. And then the big plays started piling up for Arizona. As you are going through this with your young roster and your veterans that you do have in place, what are you doing and your staff doing to get these guys engaged and to keep them moving forward when momentum isn't going their way?
Well, you know, the key is we all decided to get into this fight January 4th, and we knew there'd be some good days and some bad days. And right now we're in the middle of some adversity, and we're not playing as well as we wanted to play. None of us, none of the coaches, none of the players. And so our ability to be able to fight through these situations and rally around each other will help us right now for this week's game, and it will also help us in the future for the rest of the season. It'll help us as years pile up here as we continue to grow and develop. So, what I told the kids today, you're guaranteed 40 some odd days left right now as a football team together. You're going to be guaranteed 3 hours and some 15 minutes or so going to Pullman to play Washington State. We'll never be in there together again. So if that's not enough to drive you to continue to keep playing and getting better and fighting through the process, then you signed up for the wrong sport and you signed up for the wrong situation to be in. And our kids have bounced back. I think we've practiced well. We're not going to sit back and all of a sudden, hey, oh, you know what, we've been practicing wrong, or this is completely wrong. It's not. It's where we need to be, and we are where we are. It's our responsibility as a group to fix it. We can't sit back and say, gosh, I wish we had this, I wish we had that, we need to do this. We'll evaluate everything as we go through the season. The end of the year is the time to sit back and evaluate. Right now, it's about finding a way to beat Washington State, and that is all that matters.
All right, Coach Gary Anderson, we're just getting started with him. A quick look back at the Arizona game. Let's look forward. We got less than 48 hours before the Beavs head to the Blues to take on Washington State, and the Beavs players making a trip up to Portland to do something special. We'll get Coach's thoughts on getting ingrained in the community. Beavers Inside the Huddle continues. There is an art to long snapping, Steve Priest, and the head coach of the Beavs, Gary Anderson, he knows that art very well. Practice footage of Coach Anderson getting some snaps into the punter. Coach, rock and fire, right? Tom, what is the art of the long snap when you're teaching these guys? Because you got some good form there.
Well, number one, not be as old as I am. I'm a little stiff and sore still from that today. That's embarrassing to say, but that's the facts. So, we're actually trying to build those young snappers. That whole thing is part of our developmental time we're using after practice right now to develop the young kids that are involved in the scout team and the red shirts. They're up at 6:30 in the morning. They lift like crazy. They get out from there. They come into their meetings, go to practice, and then we give them about another 15 to 20 minutes after practice to develop. And so that is my assignment, to try to help the holders in this situation become a little bit better and work with the snappers a little bit. So hopefully I helped them some.
Coach, going on from that, when you're in a situation like the last week where you lose a tough game, you're getting ready to play a very big game at Washington State, how do you get them going? Is it by keeping them busy, keeping them concentrating on specific things, looking for leadership? How does it happen?
Well, I think it's just important for the kids to be in the moment, and we've talked about this long and hard as we went through the year, and we throw out what we did. We go through our champions meeting, our winners meeting. Obviously, when you play the way we played, there's not many championship efforts, there's not many winning efforts. We sit down and take some coaching moments to go over the film, study some films as a team together. I think it's important when you succeed and when you don't succeed to share those moments with the team so they can look at it and understand it, and from there you move on. But you don't forget, and we should be a little edgy. We should have, we didn't play the way we wanted to play in any. I don't even know what words to say. We didn't play good enough. And so our ability to put it behind us but move on, this team does a good job with that. And I'm challenging them. I'm pushing them. I've told them I'll never stop pushing. I will accept nothing but wins as we continue to grow and develop as a football team. And if they are a person or a group or whoever they are that wants to sit back and start to take sides or understand, woe is me, we feel sorry for ourselves, or we're looking for excuses, then they're in the wrong place. If indeed they are competitors, that's all they need to get back. Jump back on that horse and let's go ride and get ourselves ready to go practice and get ourselves in position to prepare and then go expect to win a football game. And I think that's where these kids are, and I will never change down those lines. These young men signed up for something special when they signed that letter of intent, or they decided to walk on the first time they put that helmet on their head. They need to understand that they are expected from Beaver Nation, all of us as coaches and as a university, to go out and prepare and do their very best. And if they're doing that, then we're okay with it. Anything less is unacceptable.
All right, Coach, as we do every week, we got some questions from the Twitter sphere. And Daniel in PDX, he writes in, what's the most challenging difference between coaching at Wisconsin and at Oregon State?
It's a good question, Daniel. I would say overall, coaching football and coaching young men is very similar every single year with the way that we believe as a staff and get the structure. We had a very old team our first year at Wisconsin, and when I was at Utah State we had a very young team, much like we have right now at Oregon State, and that is definitely the biggest challenge because there's so many emotions, there's so many things you want to take place. If you will, you want to push them as hard as you can, like I said earlier, but you also need to understand there's 17, sometimes 18, 19-year-old kids that you're asking them to go over there and compete against some very talented teams in the Pac-12. So all of it encompassing is very difficult with a young football team, from the school standpoint to how they carry themselves socially, and then obviously, to many people the most important outcome is the wins and losses. It's a big part of it, but challenging that youth every single week to get ready to go play football games is its own separate challenge. But the youthfulness, in a nutshell, is the most difficult part of year one.
Coach, speaking of youthfulness, one quick question. A great quarterback at Washington State, leading the conference, one of the best in the nation, a young man, very young, youthful. You know this young man from growing up.
Yeah, Luke I've known for a long time. He's a tremendous kid, and he's a great story. My boys played high school football with him. They had some tremendous teams and some great years. I thought they were extremely well coached with Coach Fav and his crew, and those kids learned good fundamental football. And Luke was a young man who, out of high school, didn't have all the offers that he thought he wanted, and he just ground through the system and found his way to be able to get into a great spot. He fits the system very well at Washington State, and he's playing at a very high level. And, I remember seeing him first baseball game that I saw Luke play in when Coach Chad's son was playing on Luke's team, and my two twins were playing on another travel league baseball team, and that's the first time they competed against each other, and then they met up in high school, and they're still very close friends. And Luke spent a lot of time at our home, and he's one of our close family friends, that's for sure, and will be forever.
Luke Falk got the inside scouting report on him for this
We
week's
better
game.
be blitzing him still.
Yeah, Coach, you guys are doing, you're integrating your players into the community, and the community in Corvallis and the community up here in Portland as well. A busload of guys came up, went to the Randall Children's Hospital locally here in Portland. Talk about getting involved and kind of getting the guys outside of the box of Corvallis and the community down there, and setting them up here to work with the kids.
Yeah, going to the Children's Hospital is an unbelievable experience, and other places we've been, we've tried to make that even be a weekly event as much as we can, and that's not a one-time thing for our kids. It's one step of our program called Beyond Football. It is the most important thing we do is Beyond Football. It prepares kids for life after this is over with, once they have that degree and they're prepared to move forward. But our kids go into that setting, hopefully that they can put a smile on a kid's face. Hopefully they can just make a young man or a young lady forget about all the trials that they're going through at that point just for a brief moment. And the other side of that is our kids learn a lot. It puts life in perspective. It lets them understand exactly what they have and how lucky they are to be at Oregon State University, be a football player, be at a tremendous, tremendous university. So it's great for our kids, and I really hope it's great for the people that we're able to touch just for those few moments. And the more we can get involved in this community, it helps us as young men as we continue to grow, and hopefully it obviously gives back to the community a little bit, which we want to do as much as we can.
Beavs, more than just football. Coach Anderson, good luck to you and the Beavs squad as you guys head up to the Palouse for Washington State this weekend. Good luck, Coach.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Go Beavs.
Still got a lot to get to here on Beavers Inside the Huddle. We got our keys to the game, Steve. I wonder how many we're going to agree on this week. We're usually 2 or maybe even all 3 this week. This is what's coming up on Comcast Sportsnet Northwest tomorrow evening, 9 o'clock. It's #Beavers Football. Saturday morning, get your day started with CSN Game Day. All right, Steve, it's time to get to them. It's time to unveil our Honda keys to the game, brought to you by your local Northwest Honda dealers. All right, we will start with me. Limit third down success on defense. Big talking point. We talked about it in the A's a lot to start the show. It has been the strength of this team in wins. It has been just the downfall of this team in losses. Third down success. Number 2, establish the run game early. We thought that they could get going against Arizona in the air. Well, you need to establish a run to get the passing game going. And third and final, run more plays than Washington State. One thing that Mike Leach always says, I don't care about time of possession. If I run more plays than the other team, I feel like I'm going to win that football game, so the Beavs got to run more plays. Washington State last week in that win over the Ducks ran 105 plays and scored 45 points.
Well, we do tie in together on one of those, and that's the offensive side. But, you know, after last week, there's a lot to do. And the first thing is Luke Falk. We talked about him on defense. The Beavers simply have to put pressure on this guy. You pressure him, make him force himself to throw late or quickly, very quickly, and you win with this guy. Offensively, you got to run the football. You used that one yourself and mentioned it. The offense has to control the ball, and they have to get 250 yards. I just think the Beavers' offense has to shine where it's strong, and that's running the football. Last but not least, the Beavers, some way, have to create points. I don't care whether it's special teams, trick plays, turnovers, whatever it takes, but they have to manufacture points because they are absolutely one of the worst in the country at scoring right now, and they have to find a way in the Pac-12.
When we saw Coach Anderson long snapping, maybe he's got a couple years of eligibility, maybe get down, maybe force a fumble on a punt or something.
Anything you could do. Anything you could do.
I think if he's sore after snapping once, he'll be a little sore after trying to go down and cover a punt. All right, what are you thinking this game on the Palouse? It's a road game against a team that is riding high after a road win themselves in Washington State.
Well, you hope you catch Washington State in one of their downs. Gary said it earlier. You have ups and downs in this, and they played a great football game last week. Yep. They took on a tough crowd and a tough place and a tough team, and they won them all. And I think the Beavers simply have to go in there and say, we have to find a way to win. I don't care what it is. We got to steal the football and leave that place with a win.
You know what I think every Coug fan will agree with is that when you did this, that is Washington State football over the last few years, and you do hope you get him one of these downs.
Maybe there's a Cougat left in him.
We hope. 9:30 is when the show is on next week. Thank you for being with us. We're still on Thursday, but next week it is a special 9:30 edition of Beavers Inside the Huddle. We will be here, Steve Priest, Gary Anderson, and myself, Dusty Harrow. We'll see you then.